بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. الطلبة الأعزاء، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأهلا ومرحبا بكم في هذا الجزء التاسع من المحور الثاني لمادة نظرية الآلات Theory of Machines. We will continue with degree of freedom of planar mechanisms. First of all, it is the number of inputs needed to fully define position of mechanism. It is called mobility. Now, with Kurzbach's or modified Grubler's equation, it is the following. M equal 3L minus 1 minus 2J1 minus J2. This is called Kurzbach's criteria. With M is the degree of freedom, L is the number of links, J1 is the number of 1 degree of freedom joints, and J2 is the number of 2 degree of freedom joints. If degree of freedom is positive, it is called a mechanism. If it is equal to 0, it is called a structure. If degree of freedom is negative, it's a preloaded structure. Will have built-in stresses with manufacturing errors. The first example is a mechanism, degree of freedom equal 1. So this system can be driven with one rotation, for example, from here. Second example is a structure, degree of freedom equals 0, no mobility here. Third example, it is a preloaded structure, degree of freedom is negative, minus 1. More definitions for degree of freedom. For a body in free space, it is the number of independent parameters needed to completely define a system's position in space. For a mechanism, it is called also mobility. It is the number of inputs needed to fully define a position of mechanism. Are they the same? No, definitely. So what is input? Let's see here. Input is a source of motion. So the device that introduces or produces motion for a mechanism. Two types there are for input. Rotary input, usually provided by a motor, or linear input, usually provided by a linear actuator, as shown here in the figure. So it is simply a piston in a cylinder moved by pneumatic or hydraulic pressure. Here we have the piston. This is the piston. Here the cylinder. Okay, so here it can be a pneumatic or hydraulic pressure cylinder to provide linear motion. Implication of mobility M. If M equals 0, so the motion is impossible, no motion, and the mechanism forms a structure. If it is equal 1, mechanism can be driven by a single input motion. It is called constrained mechanism. So here it can be driven by rotary input or translation input. If M equals 2, so the mechanism requires two separate input motions to produce constrained, that means defined or controlled motion, and etc. If the mobility M is negative, so mechanism has redundant constraints. It is over-constrained and it is called statically indeterminate structure. So the forces in every link cannot be determined.